Welcome back to Straight Talk. Today we're going to be talking about lighting. Let's start by talking about fixture types. And of course, the most ubiquitous, the most well-known fixture is the parcan. And that is a shortened term for parabolic, which refers to the reflector that is used to transmit the light down the barrel and out to the area that's being lit. Now, you don't get a lot of features with parcans. You know, it's pretty much point and shoot. And you can put barn doors, which allow you to shape the light to a certain degree, but by and large, you don't get a lot. Probably the best value in terms of fixture type are ellipsoidals or licos. And again, this is named after the reflector that's in the fixture. But you get things like shutters. So these are little blades that come in and you can shape the light very, very accurately. They also have interchangeable lens tubes. So you can have a 5-degree lens tube all the way up to a 90-degree lens tube, depending on the manufacturer. And this is very, very helpful because the narrower the beam, say a 5-degree, means the further back you can put it and still get a very good amount of light intensity on your subject. All right, so we're talking throws of like 150 feet kind of thing. All right, so the other advantage is the lens tube can move in and out. So what that does is it will have some effect on the size of the beam, okay, which is nice, but its primary purpose is a focusing mechanism. So you can have a very hard defined round edge, or you can have a very soft edge, which allows you to blend multiple lights together to get a very nice, soft, even wash. Now, a lot of TV guys and video guys will know this one, a Fresnel, which of course is named after the man who invented this lens. And the lens is meant to bend light and allow you to focus it, all right? Now, the thing about Fresnels is that they're not very good at distance. They're very good in a studio type setting or something with a very short throw. They are inherently soft edges, okay? So video guys like them because it produces very soft, even light with very minimal shadows. But again, in a church environment, probably not the best way to go simply because you have a limited amount of throw before that light intensity just dies. So next on the list are strip lights or battens. Now, so far we're talking about light fixtures that you can find in either hot lights, okay, so these are bulb based, or LED. Now, what you're finding a lot in the strip and batten lighting is LED only. You can certainly make batten lighting or strip lighting with halogens or incandescent lamps, but by and large, it refers to LEDs. Now these are, you know, anything from 6 inches up to 6 feet long. Multiple power, they can be red, green, blue, they can be red, green, blue, amber, or RGBA. You have RGBA-L, the L stands for lime. You have RGBA-W, so red, green, blue, amber, white. Okay, amber would be like a warm or very, very warm white. And a white would be blue-white, okay, what you might expect in an office environment or daylight, all right? And then you also have plus UV. Those are called hex LEDs, okay? So they can produce red, green, blue, amber, white, and ultraviolet, which is a really, really handy capability to have if your church or your organization does a fair amount of theatrical work. One of the other benefits of strip lighting is its low profile. Most of the strip lights are 42 inches, 48 inches or below, and they're very, very thin. And so they can fit up into coves, they can fit up and you know, provide very nice lighting. Again, limited throw, but they're also fairly low cost, which makes them a very good option for churches that maybe want to do a stage wash, maybe they want to uplight some walls, do some decor lighting. Very versatile fixtures, and I highly recommend them given the right circumstances. All right, so the final fixture that we're going to cover are moving heads or movers. Now, a lot of big churches have a lot of moving heads because they have the budget for them and it's kind of what their people expect. You know, some of you may argue that what they're doing is more entertainment, more, you know, production. I'm going to stay out of that one, okay? However, moving lights do have very nice features, all right? And again, it's going to have to be a right fixture for the right environment, okay? So moving head is like a robotic camera. So you can pan it, you can tilt it. It has color wheels in it, so you can do color mixing. It has something called gobos, which are patterns, okay? And it has a wheel, 1, 2, maybe 3 of those, okay? And you have, each wheel has like 6 gobos on it, all right? And some of the gobos can rotate. And what they do is they produce some really interesting visual effects. Now that can be anything from what we call air effects, okay? So if you have some haze, or people call it fog, but fog lays on the ground, okay? Haze hangs in the air and creates what we call atmosphere. It's a lighting designer's canvas. It's what they use to paint with light, all right? So if you have some haze in the air, now all of a sudden you can see the beams of light. You can rotate those beams and you can do very, very interesting things. And, you know, again, it's got to be right for your environment. It's not going to be the right thing to do for every church. However, if, again, you do a lot of theater, or maybe you have some bigger productions, say Easter and Christmas, when you're expecting people to show up and you know, want to do something a little special, it's nice to have those around. That doesn't mean you have to buy them. You can certainly rent them. You can rent a haze machine. But it's nice to know that they're out there, and it's also nice to know what they can do. All right, let's talk about angles and mounting positions for your lights. So a lot of people don't understand where to put their lights, okay? So we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to use my lighting as an example, all right? So I've got one light off to about 40 degrees here, and I've got another one over here, and then I've got one behind me. So if I move to the side, you can see the lighting stand, all right? So, and what's that? And we'll talk about what each one does, all right? So a traditional lighting system, if you're familiar with video lighting, like on-location lighting, like what I have, you're familiar with the term three-point lighting, okay? So you'll have, your first light will be what's called your key, all right? And that provides the bulk of the light. Your second light will be called your fill, because what's going to happen is this light is going to create these shadows, right? So you use the fill light to fill in those shadows. Now what I'm doing is I'm using 2 key lights. They're set at the same intensity. So for example, if I were to start bringing the intensity of one of them down, let me do that, all right? You're going to start seeing shadows showing up on that side, all right? Now, for video lighting, not event lighting, and what you're doing in church is event lighting. If you're out in the field, then you can do stuff like this because it creates visual interest. And this would be the side that you, let's say you're doing an interview, right? And this is how your lighting is. You would shoot from this side of the person's face because it's more visually interesting, all right? So, let me bring this back up because I like even lighting. All right, so in your environment, you want an even wash across your platform, all right? So the way that you do that is you look straight out from the platform, okay? And you go 45 degrees off to your left. You also go 45 degrees up from horizontal, okay? That's one lighting position. And then you do the same thing on the right side, okay? So you're matching those angles because anybody can light from the front, okay? So let's turn this light off, okay? Let's say that I'm facing this light, okay? The congregation is out here. That's all fine and good. Well, what happens if I turn, right? So now I have this shadow on this side of my face, and there's no light over here to fill that in, okay? So if I'm just lighting from the front, the second that I turn, the side of my face that's away from the light goes into shadow. And that is bad. We do not like that, all right? We want to be able to what's called wrap the light around the face, all right? And the only way to do that is to kick the light out to the side. Now, this also has additional advantages for those of you that have maybe shallow stages, okay, or platforms. A lot of small churches don't have deep platforms. You know, maybe you've got 8 feet between the back wall or the wall, you know, behind the stage or the platform and the steps, okay? By coming in from the side, your shadows fall to the side, okay? They don't fall straight behind you and climb the wall, right? So this has several advantages, and I would highly recommend that you at least look at what it looks like in your space. You know, anybody that I work with, this is how I approach lighting because I know it works. I've been doing this a while, and I learned the hard way that you don't light from the center if at all possible, especially when you're in an environment that has a very shallow platform or stage. Okay, so we've talked about front lighting. Okay, let's talk about back lighting. And again, I'm going to use my lighting setup to illustrate my point. All right, so I'm going to turn my backlight up quite a bit. All right, so you can really see that it's defined. All right, you can see it on my shoulders. The purpose of backlight is to help separate me, the subject, from the background. So allow me to illustrate. I'll turn it off. And all of a sudden, yes, you can see me because there's contrast. I'm wearing a dark color, the background is light colored, but look at the difference when I turn it back on. Now I really pop out of that background, and it's called definition. It adds depth, and backlighting is what gives you that 3D effect in a 2D medium, which is video.
I have my bazooka cannon.